What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday to you. If it's Tuesday, it's Jason Sukamel Day, and we're going to talk about the Longhorns, a little bit where they're at. We're going to talk, obviously, a little bit recruiting with Jason and see what we need to be kind of catch up on. But today, we're going to start with Dia Bell, Jason, 2026 recruit. It's interesting, Jason. Last week, I started seeing people putting out like little prayer emojis and things like that for Dia Bell. I was like, what the hell are these people talking about? And then Jason, Dia then kind of puts this thing out here to basically announce that he's got an injury, shutting it down for the season, and it's just going to get focused on trying to get to Austin. Tell me what you know about this at this moment, Jason.
Yeah, I guess the good news there is, like you said, he said, "Hey, my next chapter in Austin." I kind of started hearing about it. I got some text messages early last week saying, "Hey, have you heard Dia Bell's out for the year?" I said I had not heard that at this point. So I reached out to some people close to Dia, and honestly, they're always very responsive, and I didn't get a response. So I was like, that seems like no response sometimes can be a red flag, right? Well, so then on where I was paying close attention because Dia's team played against Hayward Howard, the Texas cornerback commitment at Edna Carr. So American Heritage played Edna Carr on Friday. So I was paying attention to that game on Friday night, and Dia was not playing. So I was like, okay, putting two and two together, it looks like there's some validity to this stuff. So, he's shutting it down for the year. He I don't remember the exact verbiage he used in that statement, but he just said I'm getting something minor repaired or something. So didn't specifically say what the injury is. I've heard some stuff, but I don't know for sure. I don't have it confirmed, so I don't want to speculate. But it's unfortunate, obviously, for a lot of reasons. I mean, he was off to a good start to his year, his last season. But he did miss the end of last year, too. So this is 2 years in a row he's had a season-ending injury. I don't think they're at all related based on what I've heard. Again, I don't have full confirmation of what the issue is this year. But so I don't think it's anything that's going to be, problematic long-term. I don't think it's related to the injury that sidelined him last year. You just hope he gets healthy and shows up to Austin, ready to roll. I was looking at his stats. He actually dropped to the number 2 quarterback in the country. I think just yesterday, maybe Rivals updated their rankings for a minute there. Dia was number 1, but he dropped down to number 2. But this year he was off in 2 games, threw for 540 yards, 4 touchdowns. One of those games he went for well over 300 in the second game. So he's kind of heating up, off to a good start, and then unfortunately having to shut it down for the year. So I'm sure Dia's frustrated, but he's also a pretty tough-minded kid. So he'll be fine. He'll get to Austin in January and hopefully should be fully healthy by then.
Jason, last year, help me if I'm correct, he sustained a leg injury in the playoffs for the team that he was playing with, right? And then he kind of basically worked his way back. He went to the was it the Rivals camp or was it an Elite 11?
Elite 11 was the first time in Austin. It was a regional camp in Austin. That was the first time he really went out and publicly was throwing and kind of moving around a little bit. Yeah.
So give me the thing. So from last year until to this upcoming season, because I believe he walked away with an award during the offseason at one of the Elite 11s, like he was like the top passer or something like that. So what happened last year, and catch us up to this one to kind of give me a little bit more of a background on that.
Yeah, it was a lower leg injury last year. And again, they're kind of keeping it quiet, so I don't want to get too specific, but it was a lower leg injury last year. So he missed the playoff run, right? On his team. I think the team went on and won state actually, but and then he was out of commission for quite a while and rehabbing. And then it was early this year. I think that might have been in February onward, maybe March is when I saw him at the Elite 11 regional camp. And that's the first time he's kind of out there throwing and moving around and looked good. And he told me then, he's like, yeah, I'm fully cleared. So then I saw him a couple other times at 7-on-7 events, OT7, big national 7-on-7 deal up in Dallas. And he looked fantastic up there. And then he goes to Elite 11, the national camp. He qualified at the regional to go to the national. And he won MVP of the whole camp at the Elite 11 finals out in California. Ironically, he was supposed to go from that camp onward to the Rivals 5-star camp up in Indianapolis, which I was at that, but he didn't make it to the Rivals camp, which I get him. And he probably was pretty burned out at that point. He just done Elite 11,
Yeah.
doing a lot of traveling for 7-on-7. So I didn't get to see him, unfortunately, at the Rivals camp, but he showed enough this summer, obviously, to get a big boost in the rankings. He was back fully healthy, moving around really well. No issues from that injury from last year. And then he has this issue pop up after 2 games this year. So just unfortunate. People on our message board are like, oh, is it an injury concern? Is this a problem that's going to keep happening? I was like, I don't think so. I mean, you never know, right? But like Quinn Ewers was injury prone. You never know. But to me, I just think Diaz had a run of bad luck. Hopefully he gets it out of his way, and then he's healthy once he gets to Austin.
I mean, is the advantage for him, Jason, that he'll be here in Austin in January? Is the advantage for him at this point is that he'll come in 2026 and he's going to sit, right? I mean, there will be no rush to get him onto the field. He will have a chance to get 100% healthy because at this point, we're definitely expecting Arch to be back next season. We'll see how the things shake out with Trey Owens, and we don't know what that looks like after the season. KJ Lacey is there. It seems like Dia could just come in next year, Jason, and just get healthy and really spend the next year and a half or in year change, really kind of getting ready for 2027.
That's what I would certainly assume. I mean, we assume obviously Arch is coming back. We assume it's still going to be his team next year, right? I mean, he's got to play better. We know that, but I mean, I can't foresee him losing his job. Anything's possible. But I wrote about that in my 3-2-1 column. I was actually talking about 2027 quarterback recruiting. And I was like, I don't know if Texas is going to take a quarterback at this point. Peyton Houston committed to LSU. They've got Kavion Bryant coming in for a visit this weekend. He's still in play. But, if they don't take a quarterback, it's okay because you've got Arch coming back. You've got the 2 guys you mentioned that are already on campus. You got Dia Bell is going to be a freshman. That's still a pretty deep and talented quarterback room. I mean, all the things we've heard about KJ Lacey doing well. And we know what kind of talent Dia Bell is, a 5-star talent. So, but you're right. He has a chance to come in and be patient. And Dia's okay with that. I mean, he's also competitive. He'll come in with the mindset like, hey, I'm going to try to compete and steal that job from whoever has it, presumably being Arch. But he's also smart enough, and he's got a good support cast around him that says, hey, kind of like with Arch, honestly, it's like, hey, it's okay to be patient for a year and a half, and then battle it out. And maybe it's your team as a redshirt freshman. Maybe it's your team moving forward. So, but he'll have, you're right. He'll have a time to not only get healthy, he'll have obviously all the training staff available to him at Texas. So kind of fine tune whatever needs to be fine tuned and get him in tip top shape.
Okay. Sounds good. Now, so if we switch gears for a second, Jason, let's go to 2027. Okay. And, at least we know Texas has got somebody for 2026. Right now, 2027 is interesting because Peyton Houston, Texas was in the running for him. They may not have been on his final top 2, but he was in the running for them. Yesterday, he announces, Jason, that he commits to LSU. Going to stay home, stay inside the state of Louisiana. Jason, what does that recruitment mean? From not only him, but then the bigger thing as relates to Texas and what we're talking about in 2027.
It makes it confusing, being honest. Like I said, I don't know that Texas will take a quarterback now. If they do, I mean, I mentioned Kavion Bryant, the kid from Palestine Westwood. He's really good. He's coming in for the game this weekend. He was at Texas Tech last weekend. Florida State's involved there, SMU. So that would be the easy path, right? You get Kavion Bryant, who you've already offered. You get him to commit. If it's not him, I don't know where they go. I kind of wrote about it in my column, or I did write about it in my column. I said, could Texas circle back on Colton Nussmeier, who some people think still might go to LSU, even though Peyton Houston went there? Well, they haven't offered him yet, but might they evaluate him and offer him? The other one is Phillip Rivers' son, Gunnar Rivers. He came in for the elite camp. So he's kind of an unknown. I mean, for all I know, hell, he may be ready to commit to Texas tomorrow, but that dude never talks. I caught him after the Texas camp in person. I talked to him. I don't think he's done another interview since then, Anwar. Like, I looked across any platform. I don't think he's talked to anybody from any network. So he and his family just keep a real tight lid on it. But he did come to that Texas elite camp. So Gunnar Rivers is a name to kind of a wild card name to file away. There were guys like Malachi Ziegler, who's out of Louisiana. He came to that elite camp. Really good player. Texas decided not to offer him. Maybe they evaluate him this fall again and say, okay, let's go ahead and take a Malachi Ziegler flyer. Jerry Myers, a quarterback out of Waxahachie, he was at that elite camp. He's committed to TCU, but Texas hasn't offered him. But maybe they try to flip someone like that. Honestly, I don't know where they're going to go with quarterback, other than Kavian Bryant being the obvious top option right now, and he's supposed to decide probably in the next month and a half. But I'm not totally sure that they'll take a quarterback in this class. I don't know that it's entirely necessary. I mean, would you want to? Yeah, especially if it's Kavian Bryant. That dude's freaking legitimate. So, but if you don't, I don't think it's the end of the world. I mean, KJ Lacey looks like he's going to be really good based on the things we've heard. We know Trey Owens has potential. Obviously, Dia has a ton of potential. So I don't think it's the end of the world if you don't take a quarterback in this 2027 class if you're Texas.
Let me ask you this, and I definitely hear what you're saying, and we're a little ways away. If the NCAA now has a new transfer portal window, right? Which hopefully should make your life easier, Jason, because at least it's
only shorter window. I'm like, yes.
Yes. All right. So, so it begins on January the 2nd, and it goes for 10 days at that point. And that's it. Matthew Caldwell is kind of a one and done kind of guy. And, we haven't seen him on the field yet. Does it make sense, Jason, if Dia Bell is coming in and he's going to be banged up and, he's got to, he's going to spend maybe 2026 kind of recovering? Does it make sense for Texas to go back in the portal in January and say to themselves, because I know you said Trey Owens has potential. We don't know, Trey Owens is in that for us, like that transfer watch where you're kind of stuck. And you just, your eligibility, okay, if Arch comes back for another year, do you want to sit and wait to see if you can battle out in 2027, or do you want to try to find a home? Does it make a little sense for Texas to say, once January comes around, let's look in the portal to see if we can find another quarterback?
I think it makes perfect sense. I've seen in the chat, people, I don't remember who said it, but they're like, no more high school quarterbacks, just take all portal quarterbacks. Well, you can't do that. But when you're taking a quarterback from the portal, you know what you're getting. I mean, even with Matthew Caldwell, Texas knew what they're getting, but you look at what Oregon's done with their quarterback situation the last few years. They just keep taking portal guys. It works out. Look what Miami's done, right? It's working out for them again. I mean, Julian Sayans a transfer. Look what Oklahoma's done, Anwar. I mean, they're preseason, we were laughing at Oklahoma. That team's going to suck, and Venables is going to get fired. Now I'm like, oh man, that team's playing as well as anybody in the SEC.
Whoops.
So, I think taking a quarterback out of the portal makes a lot of sense. It's probably would have to be a Matthew Caldwell type. You're not going to get Mateer, like Oklahoma did, because you still have Arch Manning. Now, all that being said, we're assuming that means Arch is playing better between now and in January, right? So, I absolutely think that's a legitimate option. And that's another reason I said I don't think you have to force the issue to take a high school quarterback in 2027. Try to get Kavian Bryant. They are. If you get Kavian Bryant, awesome. If you don't, okay, that's fine. Go get a Matthew Caldwell type out of the portal to battle KJ Lacey, possibly battle Dia Bell as Arch's backup. That's how we think this thing would unfold. So, I think the portal makes a ton of sense, Anwar. And I'm not fully convinced. Like, again, I don't know if I want to do it every year. I mean, Oregon seems to do it and make it work, but that's a little bit risky. But boy, if you can get a proven commodity to be a multi-year starter for you, dude, that's a pretty safe bet, and it's been a recipe for success for a lot of programs so far.
Jason, I want to do something, and it is kind of all ties in. And I'm not asking you to defend anything, but I want to ask you to maybe explain something, because this has kind of been a talking topic for the last couple of days. And I'm going to put this on the screen. And I know you probably have seen this. And 24/7, I'm not picking on you. I'm just using this as an example, Jason. People are questioning rankings. And they're going back to, they started with this 2023 class of top recruits. And 24/7. I'm just using you because it was easily sortable. When you look at these rankings, I mean, and you see Malachi Nelson is, we just saw him this past weekend, right? And
Mhm.
the Jackson Arnold, who I know how much you love him, right? And Nico, and how he basically has gotten a coach fired within like 2 or 3 games of him being out in UCLA and Arch struggling. Like when it's all said and done, and hopefully I can get this done. I mean, when you look at these quarterback rankings, I don't know. It's just two things for me. Did they get the rankings wrong, or did college coaches, who are ultimately the ones who are supposed to get it right, did college coaches get this wrong?
Yeah, it's kind of the chicken or the egg argument, but because people who do those rankings will tell you, "Oh, we don't base it on who's offering." Bullshit. Yes, you do. If Alabama and Georgia and Texas and Ohio State are all, and Lincoln Riley at USC offers a quarterback, you're going to take notice of that, and it's probably going to, even if it's just kind of subliminally, it's going to cause you to rank a guy higher. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, those look pretty poor, don't they? And quarterback is usually not that hard to evaluate. I mean, you'll have some misses on, surefire quarterbacks on from time to time, but usually quarterbacks have a pretty high hit rate when you're talking the top 5 or 6 guys in the country.
Mhm.
I don't know if that class is just an anomaly. I'd have to go back and look at the last 4 or 5 classes before that, but there are a lot of pretty bad misses on that. I mean, the jury's still out on Arch, obviously, and he was actually, he was a number 1 quarterback on everybody's list, but a couple services, including ESPN, if I remember, dropped him. He wasn't the number 1 overall player, but for most services he was. But yeah, I mean, those are some pretty bad misses. And like you mentioned, Nico and Malachi Nelson, who I think ESPN had rated as the number 1 overall player in the country, mind you, for that year, ahead of Arch. So yeah, those are some pretty bad misses. And is it bad evaluation by the rankers? Yeah. Is it bad evaluations by coaches? Well, probably. I mean, because look where those dudes started off. And
Yeah.
USC, those are big schools. It's not like they started off at some small school and then built up. But it speaks to just poor quarterback development for whatever reason. Is that on the player? Is that on their coaches? The schemes? Whatever you want to call it. I don't know. But yeah, something seems off with those quarterback rankings.
Yeah, like I said, there's still some time left to prove, right, with all of them.
Right.
But it is interesting to see where that's at and where the rankings were. Like I said, it's people have put this out there, Jason, and I was like, well, if anybody could give me an answer on this one, I feel like you could. Hey, by the way, I know just real quick on 2027 quarterbacks. Kavion, who you mentioned, right, is he's coming in this weekend. Is that what I saw in your 3-2-1?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So is this a big recruiting weekend? Like, because they're recruiting him as a 2-sport guy, correct? Football and basketball.
He had a basketball offer from the previous staff. Excuse me. I'm assuming he does want to try to play both. So I'm assuming the new basketball staff will probably be somewhat involved there, but I haven't heard, the specifics on that. But he is definitely a 2-sport star. To your question, yeah, it's a pretty good weekend. I mean, you got Derek Cooper, the Texas running back commitment, coming in for his official visit. I actually talked to him. I've got an update there in the 3-2-1. Ahmad, there's a lot of 2027 guys. I mentioned Kavion Bryant, Ahmad Hudson, the nation's top tight end for 2027. They'll be in town. Samari Matthews, the Texas cornerback commitment, is supposed to be there. Dylan Berryman, the Texas defensive tackle commitment. Eli Johnson's a player out of San Antonio area. There's a couple good offensive linemen. So it's shaping up. It's their first night game. So they're kind of in their last home game for a while. So they're kind of shaping this one up like to be a pretty decent recruiting event. So there should be some pretty good recruits in town.
Yeah, drone show, right? It's the you know what? It's kind of funny, Jason, when you think about it. Like, I don't know how much money they spent on those drones, but they're sure not getting a real return on that investment because of when you think of the lack of games, most of them being in the afternoon. This is probably one of the few times I actually get to do that at night. Because you come back from Vanderbilt, that's an 11 o'clock game. And then going, after that. All right, let's talk football real quick, Jason. Last week, you and I were talking, And I told you I was flirting with the notion of putting Oklahoma ahead of Texas, right? And I was like, I could do it. And I was like, I talked myself out of it at the last minute,
Yeah.
right? Jason, it's early, but I don't feel like I can talk myself out of it, right?
Oh, dude, like, I don't know if you saw my rankings in my 3-2-1, but I mean, I've got Georgia number 1. That's pretty clear after beating Tennessee. Well, that Tennessee team looked pretty good. I got Oklahoma 2.
Oh.
I got Texas A&M 3.
Mm.
I'm just go down to this. LSU 4. I got Vanderbilt number 5. Vanderbilt beat the pants off of South Carolina at South Carolina. Tennessee 6. Tennessee's looked really good even in that loss. Alabama's bounced back 7. I got Ole Miss 8. I've got Texas 9th. And I know people on Orange Bowl, that's crazy. I'm like, no. Take out the preseason expectations. If you're ranking them purely on how they're playing right now through 3 games, I could make a case Texas should probably be lower than that because Auburn and Missouri, even Arkansas has shown some things. So, everybody's like, no, Texas is like top 3. I'm like, no, they're not. They may get there, but they're not right now. They're not playing top 3 right now. I've got Texas the way they're playing right now. If you wipe the slate clean with preseason expectations, I've got them number 9th in the conference on and I could make a case they should be lower than that.
It's tough. It's tough because when you start talking about quality wins, well, there isn't really one on their resume at this moment, right? And so,
last week was ugly. Let's just call it what it is, right?
Yeah.
San Jose State, they had about a 5-minute flurry, but there was about a lot of that game was not great football by Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, man. I mean, we'll see what happens. Hey, they may beat UTEP 70-0,
Sam Houston State.
Sam Houston, thank you. 70-0, and then I move them back up the list. But they got to show me something.
Would you though for 70-0 versus Sam Houston? Like, would you? Is that worthy of moving a team?
Some of that depends on how the other teams in the conference look.
I mean, Sam Houston's 0-3 at this moment. As I'm looking at their thing, they've lost to Western Kentucky, UNLV, and Hawaii at this moment. Nothing to be embarrassed about, but still.
Ben Jesus, how is LSU not number 2 with that criteria? Because LSU has not looked very good, man. They beat Clemson, whoop-de-damn-do. They scored 20 points against Florida, whoop-de-do. I think Oklahoma and Texas A&M would wipe the floor with LSU right now.
That Cade Klubnik hype train, that thing has come to a stop, hasn't it?
Yeah, that thing's off the rails, and yeah. I don't know what's happened there. I mean, it was great against Texas last year and a great player. He's a local kid. I want to see him do well, but that's not a good football team. And, I'm going to turn this into a bash Cade Klubnik, but he does not look like a very good quarterback. The thoughts of him, there were talks of him being the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was also, that just shows you how finicky this stuff is. Because remember, there was talk when Quinn had a great performance against Alabama. He's the number 1 pick. And so yeah.
I just always say, Jason, you can never pay attention to all the preseason talk when it comes to draft picks and everything. Like, no one was talking about Matthew Golden before last season. Like, there's not a single person that was like, you know what? Might be the top receiver in the draft, right? That was not said, right? And again, people
thought he might be the 3rd best transfer receiver that Texas took, So.
Exactly, right? All the preseason talk is crazy. And look, for all the stuff about Arch, we can talk about Colin Simmons and where has he been? And some people ask me about Anthony Hill, right? And so there are the preseason stuff is always out of whack. It's always crazy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, in some of those things you mentioned, the Colin Simmons thing, I'm still trying to process how he has 2 tackles through 3 games. I mean, I'm sure teams are, Sark said it on Monday, teams are scheming to get the ball out quicker and kind of take some of that out of the equation, so to speak. But there's a lot of players on this Texas team that need to be playing a lot better and making bigger splash plays. Arch is the easy one. We can all see it. Everybody, casual football fans can see it. Arch obviously has to be better, but Texas needs more from Colin Simmons. They need more from Anthony Hill. They're playing well up front on defense, but they need more splash plays from their edge and their front 7, quite frankly.
Last thing, Jason, we'll go with this. Just last thing, playmakers, run game. Has that disappointed you at all? There's the lack of explosiveness in the run game has been there. I think I saw something that I think it was CJ Vogel put something out the other day about I don't think Texas from a running perspective has had like a run over 20 yards since I think he said like the playoffs or something like that. I have it pulled up, but I'm going to look for it. And I just want to kind of get your thoughts on what that run game looks like.
Well,
Let's
not having Wisner, it's funny. Like when Wisner got hurt and it was discovered that he was going to be out, I was like, okay, that's not really a big deal, right? Especially against these two opponents. Well, now it's like, oh shit, you better get Trey Wisner healthy and get him back on the field because, obviously CJ Baxter now dinged up, but even when healthy, like, yeah, you just don't see, the big play ability, the explosiveness. I mean, you're not seeing it in their yardage totals, but even just to the eyeball test, like they just kind of look sluggish. Some of these backs, they don't have the, the just quickness and speed. Now, Derek Cooper coming in this week, that's another reason Texas needs to hang on to him because that's what he brings to the table.
Mm-hmm.
He could bring that to you immediately next year. But, I think getting Wisner back will give you some of that. I mean, they've run decently in terms of yardage totals. And what did they go for last week? 240 or something ridiculous. I don't remember, but it's taking a lot of carries to get in there. And it's just, I don't want to say 3 yards in a cloud of dust because it's not that, but it kind of has that feel as much as it does having an explosive run game. So it's been a little disappointing. Some of that probably is on the offensive line, of course. But Sark also has said, hey, when we watch the film, these running backs aren't always going where they probably should go to maximize these runs. So, they need that area. That's another area. I mean, again, we can all pick on Arch and signal out Arch, but that's another area that needs to be better. Absolutely.
This is it. It said you'd have to go back to round one of the CFP last year versus Clemson to find a last Texas running back attempt of 20 yards or more since Clemson.
Shocking.
Yes.
Especially when you factor in the level of, I mean, I get it in the playoffs, it was tough, but these last 2 weeks, you should have had multiple of those in these last 2 weeks alone.
Yeah. So in any case, that's the interesting aspect of it. So we'll see what happens. All right, Jason, thanks for the updates. I'll see you back here at noon, buddy. Go enjoy the rest of your morning.
Sounds good. See you, man.
All right, Jason Sukamel, OrangeBuzz.com. You already know who he is and what time it is when Jason comes in here and gets into the chat. And by the way, South End Zone Queen, I hear what you're saying. We're I know it's always like it's the media. Well, nobody was wanting to hear the possibilities of it potentially being a rebuild year. In hell, just 100% clear, South End Zone Queen. It wasn't like you were hearing anything from the staff themselves that pointed towards this thing being a rebuild year. Everyone wanted to go plug and play, and that's what they were gunning for and hoping for. And right now, just are not seeing it. We'll see what happens. And look, like you, fine. Let's see what happens against Sam Houston State. They may drop 70 against them, but once you get into conference play, we start talking about Florida and Oklahoma and back-to-back weeks. Like, I don't know. We'll definitely keep an eye and monitor on that. All right, y'all. That's it. I got Moncast back here at noon, so I got more things for you. I'll be around. Have my power rankings to come out at some point today. I'm still working on that, still going through that thought process, but it's probably not going to be pretty. All right, y'all. Go out and do something nice for yourself. Do something special for yourself. You know what I always say? Live each day like it's your last, because one day it will be. So go out, do something nice.